Hey everybody, Bear Tracker Nature Films here, and I'm on a river bar that has been used a lot by swimmers and their dogs, and people have been walking around here with bare feet, and there are dog tracks everywhere, but there's also something really cool, and I've circled them. These are mountain lion tracks. So, why is this a mountain lion and not a dog track? For that, we can come over here and look at them side by side. So, here is a pair of mountain lion tracks. Give you an idea, they're about 3.5 inches long. So what you have here is a front track right here. And the front track was stepped on by the hind track. Right here. Hind track is narrower than the front track. Now right here, you have a dog track. So, comparison-wise, the dog track is going this direction, the mountain lion is going that direction. The dog, about 3 inches long, and the hind track of the mountain lion, maybe slightly more than 3 inches long. It's hard to see right here because you have overlapping tracks. Let's look at the dog track. There are 4 toes, and there are prominent claw marks on each toe. There's a pad here that's relatively small. You could take maybe 1 or 2 of these toes and pick them up and place them in there. So it's a relatively small pad. Let's look back here. Here's a big mountain lion track. And think about if you could pick up those toes, you could place almost all 4 of those toes within this area of the pad back here. So the other thing to note on this mountain lion track is the lack of claw marks and the asymmetry. Here is a leading toe, so if you were to draw a line across the edge of those, you'd notice that one toe is further ahead than the other leading toe. That makes this the left front track of the mountain lion. And again, note how large this pad is. It has 3 lobes back here, although some dog tracks do have that. And up here, it's relatively flat. It has 2 lobes. Sometimes you can see it better than others. This one's fairly good. But overall, the pad shape is sort of like an M on the mountain lion. You again have 4 toes. There's a negative space here, but it's more C-shaped. So the negative space is anything that is not the toe prints of the track. Kind of nice of this dog to walk right next to the mountain lion. So here you can see the negative space is really hard to see in this track because this animal is moving forward. It's roughly like a star shape if you were to connect those toes. The mountain lion is not. It's more C-shaped on the mountain lions. So that's another thing that'll help tell you. Another thing is looking at the way the track landed. It's really flat. So there's not, it hit the ground fairly flat instead of digging in like the dog track did. Notice how the toes dug in on the dog track, whereas on the mountain lion they did not. That's also due to differences in gait, running versus walking, but generally mountain lion tracks are really flat. They can be really subtle and hard to see, and that is one thing that will help you tell that this was mountain lion, not dog. But it's a very subtle thing. Here's a hind track of the mountain lion with a very clear leading toe. This is toe 3. Toe 2, 3, 4, and 5 are seen there, and the same thing here, a leading toe. So you don't see the leading toe as much on this dog track. They're more even, both that way and this direction. Here's another dog track, and you can see what I mean about the pad. It's smaller than what you saw in the mountain lion. Those toes are relatively large in relation to the size of that pad. So this is a little more typical of mountain lion tracks, being super subtle. All you see here is the toes, and nicely here, this mountain lion track landed on top of a dog track. Mountain lion was going to the right, dog was headed to the left. You can see the claws here, symmetry in the toe arrangement there, if you draw your line. And this one, you can see the lack of claws and the asymmetry with that toe being further ahead of that toe. So there you go, a little mini lesson in how to tell mountain lion from dog tracks. So here we go again with a dog track, front track and hind track. Notice that the hind track is more egg-shaped or oval, and it's heading this direction. This is the front track, and it has a fairly large pad, but again, compared to that mountain lion, you can't pick up all 4 of those toes and put them inside of this pad. You also have very prominent claw marks here. This is heading downhill towards the river. You can see that negative space making the X or star shape, in this case, in the dog track. And just to show how sometimes they can be easily confused, this is a dog track. Very large, wide pad. Looks flat there, looks fairly flat there, but it's not. And the 4 toes, even looks like there might be some asymmetry there. It is heading downhill, and the claws dug in a lot, so that helps to make the track look a little distorted. But it looks very similar to a mountain lion. And there's a smaller canine there, there's a gray fox.